Rocketer. What story are we going to tell tonight?
We are going to tell the story of the Scottsboro Boys.
I said, set it off on my left, set it off on my right. I said, liquor all on my breath, bitches all in my sight. I said, real niggas tryna fuck niggas.
The Scottsboro Boys were 9 black teenage boys accused of rape in Alabama in 1931. On March 25, 1931, several people were hoboing on a freight train traveling between Chattanooga and Memphis, Tennessee. Several white boys jumped off the train and reported to the sheriff they had been attacked by a group of black boys, ages ranging from 12 to 19. The sheriff deputized a posse, stopped and searched the train at Paint Rock, Alabama. Boys. They also found 2 white girls, Ruby Bates and Victoria Price, who accused the boys of rape. The case was first heard in Scottsboro, Alabama in 3 rush trials where the defendants received poor legal representation. The case was returned to the lower court and the judge allowed a change of venue, moving the retrials to Decatur, Alabama. Judge Horton was appointed. During the retrials, one of the alleged victims admitted fabricating the rape story and admitted that none of the Scottsboro boys touched either of the white women. The case was ultimately tried 3 times. For the 3rd time, a jury, now with 1 black member, returned a 3rd guilty verdict. Charges were finally dropped for 4 of the 9 defendants. Sentences for the rest ranged from 75 years to death. All but 2 served prison sentences. Haywood Patterson was convicted of rape but sentenced to 75 years. Patterson escaped from prison in 1948 and published The Scottsboro Boy in 1950 before being caught by the FBI. After the governor of Michigan refused to extradite Patterson to Alabama, he was arrested for stabbing a man in a bar fight. He was convicted of manslaughter. Patterson died of cancer in prison in 1952. Clarence Norris was convicted of rape and sexual assault and sentenced to death. Governor Graves later commuted his death sentence to life in prison. He jumped parole in 1946, went into hiding, married, and had 2 children. Norris' autobiography, The Last of the Scottsboro Boys, was published in 1979. Norris died January 23, 1989. Andrew White was convicted of rape and sentenced to 99 years. He was paroled but returned to prison after violating parole. Finally released in 1950, he moved to New York. Charlie Weems was convicted of rape and sentenced to 105 years in prison. He was paroled in 1943 after serving 12 years in some of the worst prisons in the nation. Ozzie Powell was sent to Kilby Prison with Wright and Norris. While being transported to Birmingham Prison on January 24, 1936, 2 officers threatened the man. Powell pulled out a pocket knife and cut one of the officers while the other 2 tried to pull him away. One of the officers shot Powell in the face and he suffered permanent brain damage. Powell pled guilty to assaulting the deputy and was sentenced to 20 years. Powell was released from prison in 1946. On July 24, 1937, the state of Alabama dropped all charges against Willie Robinson, Olin Montgomery, Eugene Williams, and Roy Wright. The 4 had spent over 6 years in prison. After Alabama freed Roy Wright, the Scottsboro Defense Committee took him on a national lecture tour. He joined the United States Army. Later, he married and joined the Merchant Marine. After Wright came back from a lengthy time at sea in 1959, he thought his wife had been unfaithful. He shot and killed her before turning the gun on himself. Ruby Bates toured for a short while as an ILD speaker. She said she was sorry for all the trouble she caused them and claimed she did it because she was frightened by the ruling class of Scottsboro. Later, she worked in the New York State spinning factory until 1938. Then she returned to Huntsville. Victoria Price worked in the Huntsville cotton mill until 1938. Then she moved to Flintville, Tennessee.
I said, set it off on my left, set it off on my right. I said, lick all of my breath, bitches all in my sight. I said, real niggas tryna fuck niggas won't fight. I said, gunshots into the air.